You are about to engage in the guidebook unit Rhetoric. The purpose of this video is to examine the importance of acknowledging counterclaims in rhetoric. Be sure you have your handout and something to write with for the video. Teenagers today have free and unprecedented access to information and knowledge from their devices. According to Pew Research Center, 92% of teens report going online daily. All this exposure to information and screen time offers teens access to new learning. This sounds like a good argument, but where is the counterclaim? So, what is a counterclaim? A counterclaim is the opposing argument to a claim and includes its own evidence and reasoning. The best rhetorical arguments acknowledge a counterclaim. Some arguments with multiple claims might also have multiple counterclaims. So let's look at an example of a counterclaim. To do this, we must first look at a claim. Students should be allowed cell phones during the school day because it improves their overall learning, according to Stanford University's 2014 study. A counterclaim for this example could be, others say that student learning is negatively affected by having cell phones during the school day, as assessed by Richard Freed, author of Wired Child, Reclaiming Childhood in the Digital Age. Notice how the counterclaim is related to the claim and disagrees with it. The counterclaim addresses students' cell phone use during the school day as having a negative impact and offers evidence to support the counterclaim with another study on the topic. Rhetoric is the study or art of using words in speaking and writing with the goal to convince or persuade the audience. An easy way to identify a counterclaim in someone's rhetoric is to notice sentence starters of disagreement or contrast, such as, although some people might say, it has been argued that, on the other hand, and others claim that. These often signal a counterclaim is coming. Not all counterclaims will begin with one of these phrases, but identifying these sentence starters can give you a heads up that a counterclaim may follow. Let's closely read the cell phone argument we just looked at. This is not a complete argument with evidence and reasoning, as we are focusing on just the claim and counterclaim here. If we put the claim and counterclaim next to each other, it would look something like this. The claim is highlighted in yellow, while the counterclaim is highlighted in green. In this case, the sentence starter, although some people might say, is used to shift from the claim to the counterclaim. Using the same claim and counterclaim, you could easily swap in another sentence starter for the previous one. As you can see in this second example, the same counterclaim can be signaled to start with, it has also been argued, and still produce the same effect. Here is a claim that you might have heard recently. Adele, the most famous female artist from England, was the most successful pop star of 2016. To support this claim, someone might use evidence that Billboard magazine ranked all artists based on hit records and the money they made from concerts, and Adele came out on top. This claim uses Billboard's ranking because it is a trusted source in the media industry. The evidence is relevant and supports the claim, and the reasoning is sound. Let's practice identifying counterclaims. Which of the following is a counterclaim to the claim that Adele was the most successful pop star of 2016? A. Not only was Adele a big winner at the Grammys, but she also performed to a crowd that gave her a standing ovation. B. Others claim that concert sales and chart-topping hits are not the only measure of success for a pop star. C. On the other hand, there were a lot of artists, including Adele, who thought Beyoncé should have won Best Album at the Grammys. Or D. Some people believe that Adele was a more successful pop star in 2011. Pause this video to record your answers on your handout at stop sign number 1. Then hit play when you are ready to continue. Let's check your answers. If the claim is that Adele was the most successful pop star in 2016, according to Billboard, then a matching counterclaim must try to disprove or disagree with it and include relevant evidence. Most of the choices begin with a signal sentence starter for a counterclaim. However, 3 of the answers don't match the claim because they are either irrelevant to the claim or they agree with the claim. A agrees with the claim by providing additional evidence. C focuses only on the Grammys, which was not included in the claim and is therefore not relevant. D is not relevant because it doesn't try to disprove the claim about 2016, but instead relates to 2011. The only correct answer here is B because it disagrees with the claim and includes relevant evidence by focusing only on the criteria for the Billboard Top 100. So, why should counterclaims be used? If a counterclaim disagrees with a claim you are trying to prove, then you might think it would be best to avoid it. However, including counterclaims in your own rhetoric actually makes your argument much more effective. When using rhetoric, it's important to get the attention and trust of your audience. When you acknowledge counterclaims to your own claim, you seem more knowledgeable and trustworthy to your audience, while making your argument stronger because you have considered different viewpoints from your own. Also, not everyone in your audience will agree with your claim. Some people might believe in the counterclaim you bring up. Disproving the counterclaim may bring more of these people to your side than if you didn't address it. Acknowledging counterclaims in your rhetoric strengthens your argument for this reason. Let's look closely at the start of an effective argument. Bring your own device within education is inevitable. Students' lifestyles are centered around mobile devices and technology by the time they begin school. Students developing technological skills will prepare them for the professional workplace they will enter, so it makes sense for education to embrace its adoption. It has been argued by some school administrations that one negative factor of BYOD adoption is financial. School administrators cite expensive upgrades to servers for BYOD programs, which systems cannot absorb. Here's the claim, highlighted in yellow. Here's the evidence and reasoning for the claim, highlighted in blue. As we continue on, I see a sentence starter here. It has been argued, which will likely signal a counterclaim. And here's the counterclaim, which comes right after the sentence starter and is highlighted in green. Finally, here is the evidence and reasoning for the counterclaim, highlighted again in blue. Notice, by including the counterclaim, the argument does not ignore possible disagreements with the claim, but actually strengthens it by recognizing another viewpoint. It's time to practice examining an argument with a counterclaim. This speech was given by a class president to an audience of high school students and faculty at an assembly. The president said, "Students should not be required to wear a school uniform because it causes more problems than it solves. Wearing uniforms takes away from students' freedom of expression, which can limit creativity and cause overall unhappiness in the student population. On the other hand, some school administrators and parents say that uniforms lessen peer pressure associated with having to have the best and trendiest clothes. Peer pressure has been known to cause such harmful effects as depression and low self-esteem, so if there is a way to avoid it by limiting clothing options, they argue we should do so." On your handout, underline the counterclaim. Then circle the sentence starter that signals the counterclaim. Finally, explain how the counterclaim strengthens the argument. Pause this video to record your answers on your handout at stop sign number 2. Then hit play when you are ready to continue. Let's check your answers. Sentence 3 is the counterclaim here. It begins with one of the sentence starters we looked at earlier, "on the other hand." This counterclaim is effective because it shows the audience that the speaker's claim has been thoroughly researched and that the speaker is acknowledging the negative effects of peer pressure around clothing. In all, the speaker seems knowledgeable and open to opposing viewpoints. Knowing what counterclaims are and how and why they are used is important in making arguments more effective. This knowledge will help you in recognizing counterclaims in others' arguments. You will use this new knowledge as you engage in the guidebook unit, Rhetoric. When you finish this video, be sure to turn in your completed handout to your teacher.